Our dream na to get Ogbonge primary healthcare center for the 192 wards for Edo. Say na wetin we owe our people be that. Edo government na im talk this one. Edo state government don launch telemedicine wey oyibo dey call the delivery of healthcare from a distance using electronic information and technology for inside Ogbo primary health center on Tuesday for Benin City. Dis project wey be say na to provide better healthcare give Edo pipo na addition of wetin Association of Nigerian Physicians for America (AMPA) do when they take provide free healthcare services give over 10,000 people for Edo. Philip Oseobo, wey be one of the Naija doctor for America, come talk say after the outreach wey AMPA do, dem take am say need dey for dem to check on their patients and dem no fit dey comot come back the country every time. That na why dem come collaborate with Edo government to provide free healthcare services through electronic technology give Edo people.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to actualize what has been a dream. Telemedicine, simply put, is the ability to use technology to provide health care to individuals as if you are doing it in person. Using technology and telecommunications. What do I mean by that? It means the technology of information technology, computers, digital medicine, and telecommunications, meaning video or audio, to listen, examine, make a diagnosis, and then make a treatment plan, and make that treatment plan work and effective, that patient can feel you have taken care of him or her as if he or she actually was sitting in front of you face to face. That is what telemedicine is. That is what you heard from the testimonial that was on the audio. That is what you heard from the testimonial from the team on the ground that have been working on this for months. The partnership I represent, Association of Nigerian Physicians in America, under the able leadership of Professor Chris Okusere, our president, directed me to come today to participate in this launching. So when this program was being thought about, Her Excellency gathered us together by technology. Our team in the United States, the team here, met by technology, by Zoom, and went through the process of what it will look like. The idea, ladies and gentlemen, was after the big and very successful outreach, we needed to continue to see these patients on an ongoing basis. That was the number one goal. And the only way to do that was not for us to keep flying back every month to see the patient. It was practically impossible. So telemedicine became our avenue to establish continuity of care. The second purpose was, now that we know this works, we were going to leverage it to partner with the state government to adopt one PHC at a time and provide care to indigents of Edo State by telemedicine as if they have their own personal doctor. Objective number 2. Those two objectives is what we are celebrating today. There are third, fourth, and fifth objectives in the pipeline. But for now, I'm going to savor the moment. That instruction you gave us, Your Excellency, we have delivered. AMPA has delivered. Edo State government has delivered.
Osarojan Oge Esquire will be secretary to the state government who represent Governor Godwin Obaseki. Come hail AMPA for their time and dedication to give back to their homeland. He can talk say the plans and responsibility of the government now to provide Ogbonge healthcare services give the 192 centers for Edo State.
Also, Mr. Governor and the people of Edo State, I want to really express our appreciation to the AMPA team as presented by Dr. and Dr. Mrs. Seo. When the commissioner was speaking, she spoke about our dream for PhD. At the beginning, inception of this government, there were some things that were very dear to the heart of Mr. Governor. One was basic education. The other one was primary health care. And of course, youth employment. A lot of people didn't quite understand. When he said, if I have 10 naira, I will put this percentage into basic education, I will put this into basic health care as presented by primary health care, and the rest, we can begin to talk about roads. Of course, our people in their usual ways, when they don't understand something, they criticize it. You remember the case of Central Hospital Benin. But today, I'm sure, all of us, we are proud that this is a primary health center. Like she said, if you live in Ogbonge, how many hours will it take you to get to Central Hospital? But Mr. Governor's dream, as the commissioner says, to have this model of primary health care center in Ogbonge, where I was born. She mentioned it, so I'm going to take her out on it. This is my ward. That is my ward primary health care center. In Ibilo, in Ewatu, in Uronibe, all over the state. Our dream to have one primary health center of this standard in every ward. It has started, and I pray God will give Mr. Governor the strength to do it. So, on behalf of Mr. Governor, I want to thank our APA partners, and I want to thank our mother for that dream. Not everybody has it, but we thank God for our mother, for God to have given her that wisdom and that vision to bring this to being. The responsibility of every government is the security and well-being of the citizens, nothing else. So on behalf of Mr. Governor, government and people of Edo State, I want to thank you. I want to thank all of you that have collaborated with them, that have assisted them, that have worked with them to make Edo proud. Thank you very much.
Number one lady for Edo State, Betsy Obaseki contact Edo people wey dem take re-elect Governor Godwin Obaseki and im deputy, Right Honourable Comrade Philip Shaibu, for September 19, 2020. Say as e be so dem go get technical officers wey go help make sure say dis projects work for the state, and dat part go supervise all the healthcare people make dem for do their work.
I was asked some time ago, just before the commencement of the ANPA mission here in April, what my motivation was for spearheading this project. And the only thing that came to my mind, and the only reason that I believe spurred me on to push for this project, was the fact that the governor and his deputy in particular, I felt owed big thanks and gratitude to the good people of Edo State, because their last election as governor, deputy governor, was one that not just the whole of Nigeria, but practically the whole world was aware of. And everybody was standing, watching, waiting to see the outcome of that election. It was the most, people call it the mother of all elections, the mother of all battles, because it was a big battle and all kinds of conspiracies against that team. And the people of Edo State who were in the light, who had seen the light that God had brought with this team to them and upon them, stood up and were determined that their governor and his deputy, who they believe have done so well for them and who they believe have a great vision to do even more, must be returned back as governor, regardless of all of the conspiracies at the highest levels. against them. And so that election was a very unique and special, groundbreaking election. And the victory that God brought with the commitment and dedication and strong support of Edo people is one that we will serve for the rest of our lives. And so I felt that we needed to say a big thank you to Edo people. And the only way that came to my mind to do it was by way of this AMPA medical mission. Because the mission comes as a free medical provision to people in Edo State. Everyone who benefited from the mission and will continue to benefit with this continuity of care being established here by the telemedicine platform, be benefiting from something that they will never be able to pay for the rest of their lives. The quality of care, medical care that AMPA brings is not common. They are not general practitioners. They are not, medicine. You study medicine for 5 years, become a GP. Then you specialize for another 5 years to become a specialist in different areas of medicine. These are all specialists and double specialists. Some triple specialists. They have 2, 3 specializations, some of them. And they are people trained in America. And you all know that one of the best medical care systems in the world is found in America, also one of the most expensive. So we have, like Dr. Silva said, one of his patients said that, this is like going to America. You're here and you're consulting with an American physician. You're practically in America getting medical care. And for some of you who've been there, if you go to America for medical care, you know that it costs thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is not at all cheap. And this is coming free of charge to every Edo citizen that accesses this care. It is not a small matter. It isn't a small thing that's happening here. The sacrifice of these doctors coming from America. Dr. Sohobo, I wish you had continued your speech and talked to us the way you spoke to us last night, enumerating everything, and I'll help you do it. They paid their tickets with their own money from America here, and you know how much, thousands of dollars. They came with bus loads of medicaments, of consumables, of medicines and things, free of charge to us. They paid money to send those things ahead of them. Each one came, I was told at the time we were planning, every doctor that was coming with an extra suitcase. They were mandated to take on an extra suitcase of medicaments. That is on top of the ones that they had sent ahead before they came. All at their own cost. And they came here. 1 week they were here. Dr. Sawa tells us that in America, medical care is provided on an hourly cost basis. Doctors charge a certain number of dollars per hour. Minimum $200, it tells us. $200, $300 per hour. Okay? So calculate how many hours in those 7 days that they gave up here. Times it by minimum $200. And imagine how much money they would have earned in America for that 1 week that they gave up and came here. And then they came with all manner, the whole spectrum of specialization. We had doctors, not a medical person, but a commissioner would have reeled them all out. All kinds of doctors, gynecologists, heart interventionists, heart surgeons, pediatricians, nephrologists, people that deal with kidneys. We actually had 1 or 2 kidney transplants while they were here. Internal medicine practitioners, all sorts, including plastic surgeons. 2 plastic surgeons were on that team. And plastic surgery is an elite medical service provided If you're not a billionaire, you won't be able to access that because it costs thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get plastic surgery done on you. I recall Dr. Chris Okunseri, the AMPA president, who led them here, was talking to us governors' wives, because a few of the governors' wives were here at the time, and showed us a slide of a man that had been operated on. His knee was like this, he couldn't, his knee was straight and could not be bent and all that, so he couldn't walk with that leg. And they had to do plastic surgery on him to release the knee. And he told us that that operation alone in America would have cost him $50,000. And this is a man, common, ordinary Edo man, who can't afford to go to even UBTH for medical care, getting $50 worth of medical treatment. That is the value that AMPA brings. We saw over 10,000 patients in that 1 week of AMPA, the AMPA mission. 10,000 people got first-class, world-class, expert medical attention and treatment in 1 week in Edo State. From medical doctors that are world-class. That is no mere feat. And like the governor would also always say, when we are talking about sacrifice, service, governance, when you are in a position of privilege and affluence and comfort, the only thing that God expects of you is to give back, to help others who are less privileged, who are below you in life. And that is what people are expected to do in government, because you're high up there. And you've been placed there by God to look after the people. That is the work of government and governance. And that is the example we're trying to show here in Edo State. That you're placed in a place of authority and power to care for the people, not for any other reason. And so that's what we're trying to do here. Because that is the mandate and the heart and the mind that God put in your governor when he brought him here. And he's trying to live that out.
Professor Obeya Korea will be a Edo Commissioner for Health talk say the government will upgrade primary health care centers to meet the need of the people. Say she did happy, say if she did the time where Obaseki talk say they must get them right.
When people talk about the Ministry of Health, they usually think about a traditional ministry. But our ministry has many unique points. Ours is the only ministry that has two permanent secretaries. The permanent secretary, Ministry of Health, and the permanent secretary, Hospitals Management Agency. We also have the Edo State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, headed by the Executive Secretary, and the Edo Health Insurance Commission, headed by the Director General. We have also the Traditional Medicine Board, headed by the Chairman of the Board. It is this group of people that worked with our partners, Association of Nigerian Physicians in the Americas, under the leadership of His Excellency Governor Obaseki and Her Excellency Mrs. Betsy Obaseki, alongside leaders and the workforce of University of Benin Teaching Hospital, Ira Specialist Teaching Hospital, Neuropsychiatric Hospital Selu, and our partners to implement the highly successful medical outreach that happened between the 22nd of April and the 2nd of May officially, and which was extended by 1 week to provide eye care. I'm giving this background so that we know that it takes a village to do the kind of things that we have seen in the recent times. And no single person can take credit. It also takes the hand of God for us to have seen the monumental successes that are evident to all from the AMPA program itself and from the positive spin-offs that have happened since then, one of which is the telemedicine program. I am sure that most of us are not familiar with how primary healthcare centers run. The reason is that we don't go there. We don't use them. And it's something that we need to say. I'm not proud to say it. But even some people who work in primary healthcare centers had a view of primary healthcare that was different from what it should be. So the primary healthcare center that we knew, or that some of us know, was a place for women and children to gather and receive health talks about pregnancy. Most of them would not even have their babies there. So maybe 1 or 2%, max 5-10% would have their babies at the PHC. But they were like vaccination centers, immunization centers. Does anybody agree with me here? However, that is not what PHCs were designed to be. I don't know when or how we got it wrong, but I'm glad to be on board at a time when the governor of the state has said we must get it right. The World Health definition of primary health care would amaze you. Put simply, it is called democratization of healthcare. And it includes the whole spectrum of care, from prevention to health promotion, health education, diagnosis, treatment, rehabilitation, palliative care, even end-of-life care. Happening close to where people live and work. That is what primary health care should be. I remember the governor of Edo State standing in one of the clinics in Central Hospital and saying, even standing here, I feel sick. If it's not good enough for me, it cannot be good enough for Edo people. And the reason we are here today is to ask you all to please join us in a movement to redefine primary health care in Edo State.
Ebusereme Obinome, TMC TV News.